I do want to start back with you, Craig, about Marcus Rashford absolutely turning on for his side tonight.
Yeah, and he has to, because he's on loan at one of the best teams in Europe. He's been given this great opportunity off the back of doing not a lot at United and a little bit at Villa. So he has this magnificent chance, albeit he was in tonight because Lamine Yamal is injured. So getting game time from him will be difficult, you would imagine, but not if he's doing that. That's going to say to Hansi Flick, you know, give me more game time. This is what I can do for you. He was brilliant. He looked sharp on that left-hand side. He looked pacey. He was direct. Obviously, his 2 goals are the talking point. The second one was just absolutely outstanding. But that's what Marcus Rashford has to do if he wants to earn a move to Barcelona full-time, which I don't know if it's going to happen, or if he wants to earn a move somewhere else after his loan spell. He's back in the shop window, and the more performances he puts on like this, the better chance he has at getting away from Manchester United, which ultimately United want, and ultimately Marcus Rashford wants. So a brilliant, brilliant performance from Rashford. And I've got to say, from Barcelona in the second half, they really controlled and dominated the game, not just with possession, but with their closing down. They really closed down in 3s and 4s and pressed the ball in Newcastle's half, and they struggled, Newcastle that is, to retain possession. And that was a big problem for them in the second 45.
A really positive display from Rashford tonight, absolutely paying off that faith that his coach has shown in him, Luis.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot lately about him, that he could show what he's good at, that is that strength, that speed, that power that he's got. He's good at good finishing. But in tight spaces, he was going to have trouble. We saw in the first game against Mallorca, he was trying to find his gaps, trying to drop, asking the ball, and he was struggling a little bit. And today, I think we can see a little bit. We've seen a glimpse of what Rashford can provide to this Barcelona. When he's on with the space at the back, Trippier couldn't handle the speed, the power, that direction. He doesn't hesitate any time to try and face you on 1v1, because he knows that he's got ability, he's got skills, and of course that fantastic touch. I like this understanding with Rafinha. We saw it on one assist in the last game. Today, try a couple of times, and this understanding between him and Rafinha is something that we are going to see quite often. He's got that ability to see the runs on opponent, on teammates, and today try a couple of times again to the diagonals of Rafinha. Is something that for Barcelona is also new. Those fantastic transitions going forward.
And now he's just got to keep it up, Don, like Craig was saying at Barcelona.
Correct. I think my my takeaway from looking at Marcus Rashford tonight, take away the 2 goals, I think he looked physically fit. It looks like he's muscled up at the same time. So now he's at a proper football club where the demands are so high. The coach, the players inside that dressing room will put that on Marcus Rashford. I think it's never been in question about Rashford's ability. He can do it on the football pitch, but what's his lifestyle like away from the football pitch? That never really gets him fully fit consistently on the pitch. Now I think at Barcelona he's got a brilliant opportunity, as I said, because the demands are so high, and he has to be on it, and he has to be fit, and he has to live his lifestyle right. Because you see the performance in the second half. He was quiet in the first half. It was a tight game for him. Trippier handled him quite well, but the second half he turned it on. The first header was immaculate. The second goal was a wonderful strike. I've seen him do that for Man United against Man City in a Manchester derby a few years ago. Thunderbolt of a shot, and then he grew in confidence. He played with a bit of swagger, and that's what you want to see from him.
Is there anything that Hansi Flick will be looking at in this game, knowing that Newcastle were getting their chances and that late on there was that goal as well?
Well, Gerard Martin's, I don't think he's Hansi Flick's favourite player, and he was a weak link a little bit in the first half on the left-hand side. Alanga had the sort of pace on him. They played the high line again. They caught Newcastle offside quite a few times, so that worked better than it did against Rayo Vallecano a couple of weeks ago when it was horrible. But again, go back to Marcus Rashford. The problem he's got is game time. The coming in and coming out. Lamine Yamal comes back, Rafinha plays, Lewandowski, that's the preferred threesome. You're sitting on the bench, you're getting 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, maybe a half there. That's the difficulty, is performing like that when you're not getting consistent game time. But I thought Barcelona in the second half really flexed their muscles.
What did you make of Barca tonight, Luis?
I like it very much, honestly. Going going to Newcastle is not an easy game. The intensity and the physicality of the team, it was proven the first 45 minutes where they were pressing man-to-man whole pitch, and that's not easy for Barcelona because you cannot even have time to receive, but they were adapted. They managed those 15, 20 minutes where Newcastle was having the best chances. And it's like Ray is talking about in the second half where they found the chance to score the first one and then the second one, and they controlled the game. They understood that it's not about trying to get the third one. It's about having the ball, putting pressure on Newcastle. They made a massive, huge effort in the first 45 or first 60 minutes, and they get a little bit tired, so it was more difficult for them to chase the ball. So it's a very mature team. Let's not forget, it's not the Lamine Yamal there. There is always a threat, and probably we're going to talk a lot when he is not there. But it's a Barcelona that is ready to face the big challenges of the Champions League. Is ready to face physical teams, technical teams, and tactical teams. So I think that this Barcelona is ready to challenge for the trophy.
And that really made it a difficult night for Newcastle. Don't forget they clambered into the Champions League, I believe, via the 5th spot in the Premier League. That was given one of the 5th spots that was given to England. So they clearly are a team that are building. They've lost Alexander Isak. Obviously, they made a new signing. The striker didn't play. He came on. And they're ultimately, match day one, they're playing the team that was most entertaining team in Europe last year. PSG apart for the second half of the season, they were probably just as good when they won the Champions League. But also they were the Barcelona at one point, I think, were the favourites. Everybody thought they were going to go on and win this Champions League. And they haven't got any poorer. They haven't sold any of their best players. So they've got good continuity. So when you think about it from Newcastle, they gave a good account. I think they learned a lesson tonight, is that when you do create the odd chances in these games against elite level teams, you've got to take them. You've got to take them. I'm thinking about Anthony Gordon in the first half. I'm thinking about Harvey Barnes at the back post. And when you don't take those chances at this level of the competition, it generally comes back to bite you in the bum. And that's what happened here. So, it was a good performance from Newcastle, given who they were playing against. But I think just a lesson to them that, when you're playing in the Champions League, particularly against the bigwigs like Barca, you've got to take your opportunities because you know that they're going to create them at the other end and they're probably going to stick the ball in the back of the net, which Marcus Rashford did twice brilliantly.
How are you feeling from the Newcastle perspective after that, Don? What did you make of what you saw from them?
I was fine. I thought it was a fantastic game of football to watch. I think when Newcastle come into the game, it was interesting that he went with the speed merchants at the top end of the pitch rather than Voltemora, because he wanted that counter-attacking pace on either flank and through the middle. As Craig said, they should have been 1-0 up when Anthony Gordon had a fresh air shot within probably 6 or 7 minutes, and then Harvey Barnes had a great effort at the far post, so they could have been 2-0 up. I think what Newcastle done tonight, Kay, they made the pitch in the first half very small, so tactically they went man for man on Barca, and we didn't see much of Pedri, didn't see much of De Jong in the first half. And they almost played the game, Newcastle, and I think they had to, like a Premier League game, full of intensity, get the crowd engaged, get the crowd latched onto the game, run hard, physically be very, very strong. And they'd done that in spades in the first half. I thought they were fantastic. Then what happened in the second half, Barca started to use their football brain, and Pedri got on the ball and De Jong got on the ball. It all came after Barca's first goal, which the boys will tell you, once you get that shot of confidence, you can play a little bit more, especially away from home, and then you can relax. And then Rashford hits a rocket to make it 2. Then all of a sudden, we just saw Pedri's class and De Jong's class, and they slowed the game down, and they just looked for about 20, 25 minutes before Newcastle scored a cut above. So I think Newcastle's takeaway from the second half is when you're playing in the Champions League, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to play clever football, brainy football, slow the game down. You can't just run a million miles an hour all of the time and expect to get some joy. Having said that, I'm contradicting myself because they could have been 2-0 up in the first 15 minutes. So I think Eddie Howe will learn a lot. I think the game was a great one. Barca probably just about edged it when you look at the balance and the flow of the game. But for Newcastle fans, I think they can be quite proud of their performance. They didn't get outplayed. They didn't get embarrassed.
I think one of the differences I noticed was, and it's not a surprise, is that when Barcelona really pressed in the second half, Newcastle struggled with the ball retention. It was all a little bit rushed. So it was coming straight back. When Newcastle pressed, Don mentioned it, Frankie de Jong and Pedri, even under pressure, were able to take the ball in, pop it around the corner, play it out to Koundé, play it back to your centre-half, take up a good position and get them out of that hole, get them out of that press. And that was one of the big differences, the quality that Barca had in the middle of the park. We all know how good Pedri is, but I think De Jong's a tidy footballer as well. He's well prepared to take the ball under pressure, and they did that better than Newcastle, and it's one of the reasons that they got so much possession.
And we're going to get to Napoli in just a moment, but the reason I even mention Napoli is because we've been taking a look with Marcus Rashford doing what he did tonight at other former Manchester United players who've been in action in the Champions League this evening. Marcus Rashford, Rasmus Haaland, Scott McTominay, what they've done this season for their new sides compared to the only goal scored for their former side, as you can see on the other side. And it's talking about the grass might be greener. Is there something in this, Craig?
Well, there's no doubt there is a negative attitude at Manchester United. It cannot be, and we've all sat in dressing rooms, Luis and Don, and when you're on a run that is negative and when the pressure is on, it's not fun. It's not as much fun going to training. It's not as much fun walking into your dressing room and you're seeing that squad, and when you're winning and your team's doing well, a dressing room can be one of the greatest places to go into. Everybody wants to get in first and have a bit of banter and get on that training ground and work hard. And there's no doubt that we said the grass is greener. I think it's just a lot of these players, or these players that were on the graphics, have gone to play with better players. There's no doubt about it. And Rasmus Haaland's gone to play with better players. It's Napoli, isn't it? At Napoli. Scott McTominay left to play with better players at Napoli. Marcus Rashford has left to play with better players, even at Aston Villa, but certainly at Barcelona. And so as long as you don't buckle under the pressure and as long as you go in with the correct attitude and see it as a fresh start, then the chances are you're going to do better than you were doing at Manchester United, because you're playing in a team that's positive, you're playing in a team that's having some success and has had success, you're in a dressing room that's happy, there's continuity, and that gives you a platform to go and play. And if you can't play in that platform, then it's you. It's you. And I think what we've seen is, and it's very early for Marcus Rashford and all these players, Scott McTominay apart, it's early for the other two, but it's definitely easier to go in somewhere that's a happy camp. There's no doubt about it. And we all know that United has not been a happy camp. You've only got to see Ruben Amorim's press conferences. I mean, his chin's on the desk. He can barely pick his chin up when somebody says to him for about the millionth time, "Are you going to change your system?" And he's like, "Oh, just get me out of here." And I think the players sort of sense that, and I'm sorry to go on a little bit, but you go and play with better players at a club that's happy, then you generally play better yourself. And I think we're seeing that with some of these players that were on the graphic.
Do you agree with that, Luis?
Yeah, 100%. Dynamics on teams are huge involved in what a player is feeling. He's talking about, do you want to go to the dressing room, you want to enjoy the training, and you don't want to leave. You are having fun, you are enjoying, and because the team is doing well. In the moment that these kind of dynamics are going against you and you are not involved and you are moved apart and you feel like maybe somewhere else you could do better, there are many different ways to go somewhere else, and maybe if your attitude is not the right one, probably you're not going to do well. But if your head is trying to improve, trying to continue learning, trying to continue developing, and you move to another place, and in the other place those dynamics are better, that they are a positive and a good environment to go to train, and the results, everything is going to get better. You are going to give 120%. You are going to improve even the performances that you have done, and probably you're going to get even the player that you were looking for the last few years back. So, yeah, I think in the case of Rashford, this is a new start, a new fresh start, and I think he's taking it the way that it has to be taken.
A good start for Pep Guardiola's men. Should probably start, though, with Erling Haaland. He's the fastest to 50 goals in the Champions League. It was Ruud van Nistelrooy who had it before him. He'd done it in something like 62 games. Haaland's done it in 49. That's
yeah, so and for all the talk sometimes that we have, not just on here, but back in England, when he has quiet games and he doesn't score, and people talk about his link-up play, and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that, and his first touch sometimes can be a bit heavy. At the end of the day, he's just a beast, isn't he? I mean, his stats are there, as you said, for everyone to see. He's been doing it since he was a teenager. He does it on the big stage. He's just such a handful for defenders. But it's not all sort of brawn, is it? When you see that little flick with the header, he's got a great understanding of where the goalkeeper was. And it's an amazing record he's got. And of course, he's been banging goals for fun in for Norway as well, for his country. So he's super confident at the moment. But Man City are going to need him to be so, because they didn't get tested defensively tonight, really, because with Napoli going down to 10 men with Di Lorenzo getting taken off, it became sort of a dig-in sort of performance for them. But this front line of City are going to have to take the pressure off a back line of City that's going to become under pressure this season, not only in the Champions League, but in the Premier League. We've seen it already from Tottenham, we've seen it from Brighton. But in terms of Erling Haaland, if I was a centre-half, he's one of the last players that I'd want to be playing against week in, week out, because although he's not the most subtle at times, he's got the pace, he's got the power, and his goal-scoring record is absolutely fantastic.
It's something Manchester City absolutely need this season if they are to come back from what wasn't the best season last year, Luis.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a player who wasn't on the spotlight last season. A lot of times, because when he's not involved, he's really not involved. We've seen Erling Haaland for 45 minutes touch the ball only twice or 3 times, and that's something that, of course, it was a massive concern, I'm sure, into the team, how to bring the ball in good condition. But it was the whole team, the one he wasn't function the way that we've seen it for many years. And Pep Guardiola was trying to find a way, because they were also a team that was conceding many goals. In some occasions, they looked just very vulnerable. And today, I really wanted to see if they were going to be tested by a very good Napoli. They started very well in the Serie A. It's at the top with three games with victory. And I wanted to see if they were going to put a good test with De Bruyne. I'm sure very excited to be back in their home and to feel against the former teammates. So, it was a pity that right after 20 minutes they lost a man. They have to go out, and then the game was over. It was about time that Manchester City found a way of scoring that first one with that beautiful touch of Phil Foden. That I'm sure the Pep Guardiola that we heard talking about him is going to be very pleased to see him involved once again into the game and assisting once again, like we've seen in the past few years.